Joining us now is Okpe with stories trending around the world. Hello, OG.
Good morning, Dr. Bati. How are you?
Good to see you.
Good to see
well,
you too.
You see your song. Some people have adopted it.
Which one is it?
Did you see that video where they were saying
Biden, Pepper, Trump, Pepper, Trump, Biden, Pepper, Trump. I love that video. Yes, it was over the weekend after he was announced president-elect.
Put anything past
I loved it, yes. Good morning, Tundu.
Good morning,
how are you?
I'm great, thank you.
Great. Good morning, Rufai. They've taken your song.
OG, I'm not singing that song again.
We'll invent another one, don't worry.
It's not tush.
Well, good morning to you, viewers. We begin what's trending in the United Arab Emirates, where a federal high court of appeal in Abu Dhabi has convicted 6 Nigerians over alleged funding of the terrorist group Boko Haram. Well, according to reports by the Daily Trust, court documents showed that between 2015 and 2016, the 6 convicts were allegedly involved in cash transfers, totaling $782,000 to the terrorist group. 2 out of the 6 convicts were sentenced to life imprisonment, while others were sentenced to 10 years. Nigerians have reacted to the news on Twitter, with many expressing outrage over the negligence of the Nigerian security forces. Well, let's take some tweets. One user wrote, 6 Nigerians bypassed the freezing eyes of CBN's Godwin Emefiele, escaped the praying eyes of the Eagle EFCC, walked past the Nigerian Army and the National Security Advisor, and moved in about $800,000 to fund Shekau's Boko Haram. The Nigerian government is not aware. She's busy chasing NSAS protesters. Well, lawyer and activist Okpe Udeh wrote, last week, AGF Malami said there is no evidence to prosecute 35 erring SARS officers who were indicted by a presidential panel of inquiry on NSAS. Today, the UAE has convicted 6 Nigerians for wiring $782,000 to Boko Haram. We will never forget. All right, this story has outraged a lot of Nigerians on social media, obviously, because just only last week or over the weekend, the CBN had, frozen accounts of 20 NSAS protesters. And like you read in my first tweet, why is this happening? Why is it that the security forces are not arresting these individuals? These are the types of stories that we want to see coming out of Nigeria. The question that people are asking is, are these 6 Nigerians going to be extradited to Nigeria to be tried? You know that their family have also said that these people, their family members have been framed, that it's not true. These are the types of things that we want to know if they can be retried. I know that that's the Supreme Court. I don't know if that's going to happen.
Well, I have to be sensitive to the family members, so I'm not going to talk about that. I'm just going to talk about the timing. It could not be any worse for the federal government. This should usually be good news. Then we start to discuss whether or not they can be extradited to Nigeria, but it will be great in the fight against Boko Haram. But right now, the timing just is so... It couldn't be more cataclysmic, quite frankly, because it looks as if the federal government is more concerned with bullying NSAS protesters than with actually trying to get these people and bring them to book. It's the point you raised yesterday that Mr. Atedo Peterside said, that why are you not focusing this attention on Boko Haram finances? Why indeed?
Well, let me put it like this. 2 quick indications in this regard. As for the concerns of the family, well, we just want to assume that these persons had the opportunity to defend themselves and that due process was observed by the, United Arab Emirates authorities. I will assume that they will have had their day in court, that there's no way they could have been summarily sentenced. But however, even in the UAE, there is room for appeal. And what we can say is that due process is important. The second point is about global terrorism. What this illustrates very clearly is the same point that is often made, that terrorism today is not located in one place. There is usually a trail, and illicit international financial flow is part of it. So you find these persons who are far away from Nigeria, but who have collaborators in Nigeria, and they are sending money back home to facilitate terrorist activities. That in itself is a crime under international law. 3, we do not know enough, so it won't be fair for people to say they are condemning the CBN governor, they are condemning the EFCC, usually when there is an international trail like that, either with illicit financial flow or money laundering, there's usually cooperation. And Nigeria in the past has cooperated not just with the UAE, but also other countries. And we have a department that is, dedicated to that. There is a financial intelligence unit. So in today's world, it's very easy to follow the money. But the overall challenge from all of this is, what do countries then do? How do they strengthen their systems so that, if there is any illicit financial flow being used to fund things like global terrorism in your country, which has direct implications for national security, then you must have a strong tracking system in place, and then for you to cooperate and partner with either the point of origin or whatever route that the money has passed through. But this shows very clearly that, look, the war against terrorism is not just in Nigeria. It has many points across the world. And cooperation among countries, partnership in tracing the money or in following the money, as some people say, is very important.
Yes, well, mentioning partnership, I believe that reports are indicating that the case has been brought in front of the Attorney General at this point. So we'll hope to see some collaboration with that.
And we're talking about whether they will be extradited to Nigeria, where Nigeria will have to make such a request.
Yes,
and it depends on whether there is an extradition agreement between Nigeria and the authorities at the other end.
There was one tabled earlier. Rufai, what is your take on this?
I think for me, what countries should do is to have a very robust framework for two things. Number one, collaboration and the big technology that can follow this. And I'm going to give you, a couple of instances. Financial flows, financial flows to causes that might not, be nice towards the existence of a nation. It's not today it started. It's been like that. And it's always deepened because of technology and the likes. How easy it is to fritter money away using maybe systems like cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, blockchain, and the likes. And also, means like this, through international wire transfer, things like that. But we need to be able to deepen collaboration and ensure proper financial reporting, because that's very, very important. Because the first question when I saw the story is, how did we not flag this? How did we not see this over time? And is this the only money that is being, wired in that we have not seen over a period of time? Are there other investigations currently going that we can use to nip things like that in the board? Because it's quite very big, and I have to say it very critically. I mean, it even goes as regards how we even fight pandemic. Most of the big countries of the world, most of their COVID-19 funds were frittered away because people hacked into their systems and were able to make these illicit financial transactions. I mean, a case in point is Hush Puppy. It happened all over. I think the other day I was hearing Justin Trudeau of Canada speak that out of over close to 11 billion set aside for setting fund in COVID-19, about 3 billion was lost to fraud. They are still investigating. Same thing happening in the UK. So we need to be able to, strengthen these methods and mechanisms, and we need to be able to, fish them out. If the UAE government has jailed them, extraditing. I asked a question yesterday from Dr. Abati that he gave me an answer, but I also still asked the question again, that is the judiciary system really the hope of the common man in this country? Because a lot of people will argue with you that if they face the Nigerian judiciary system, it can go otherwise. Justice might not be properly done. But if the UK has prosecuted them, let the case just go, and it has to be investigated thoroughly, really. If, United Arab Emirates have prosecuted them, let the case just go like that. At least we can all clamp down on this, clamp down heavily, because we all know the work of terrorists around the world and how they've disrupted the world and how the Boko Haram insurgency has affected us. Let's not forget that one of the offshoots of the Boko Haram insurgency is about 13.5 million out-of-school pupils. And I keep asking the question, who will account for the future of those people that have been rendered, useless? As far as I'm concerned, they can't go to school and things like that. Another 10, 15 years down the line, how are we not sure those young people that can't go to school, no access to education, will not come bandits and start, or will not come hoodlums that will start harassing people again on the streets? So it's a bigger problem, but collaboration, free reporting, and also to deepen the scale of technology is really, really very important in this conversation.
All right, we'll take another story. The Presidency of the Federal Republic of Nigeria has accused members of the People's Democratic Party of financing the degeneration of the NSAS protests. The senior special assistant on media and publicity to the president, Garba Shehu, in a statement on Monday, challenged the party to publicly denounce the attendant destruction caused by the protest. He added that although the Nigerian constitution recognizes the right to peaceful protest, those that facilitated violence and looting of public and private properties across the state must face the law. Meanwhile, reports of one of the influencers of the NSAS protest, Obianuju Catherine Udeh, professionally known as DJ Switch, has allegedly narrated the Lekki shooting incident to a Committee on Foreign Affairs and International Development of the Canadian Parliament. While speaking to the committee, the DJ said soldiers who shot at peaceful NSAS protesters at the Lekki tollgate in Lagos on October 20th revealed that they were sent to the protest ground on orders from above, contrary to the report of the Nigerian army. Now, DJ Switch was trending yesterday because apparently or allegedly she has moved to Canada, and she had been talking to friends about how she has been investigated and she has, gotten a lot of threats to her life. Well, the case is still being investigated at this point, and, her allegation is really, really worrying because she talked about the fact that she was challenging soldiers at the, Lekki tollgate, at ground zero, as we call it. And they were saying, this is from orders from above, like what the governor of Lagos said on this very day,
control.
On this very network.
It's all very sinister,
yes.
Isn't it? This confirms, well, she's repeating something she
right.
said earlier about how when the soldiers shot the protesters, they showed the soldiers the bodies and said, look what you've done, and the soldiers
yes.
took the bodies away. So this is confirming, well, according to her version, that there was some kind of exchange between
yes.
the protesters and the soldiers. It's all very sinister. Now for Garba Shehu's
yes.
request that PDP denounces the violence that happened in the aftermath of the protest. I see nothing wrong with that. PDP should denounce it. And the federal government should also denounce the shooting that happened. Everybody should denounce. This is it.
Excellent.
We can all
yes.
just denounce.
Yes.
Everybody has some denouncing to do,
yes.
quite frankly. What he said is not, it sort of chimes in with what the CBN and what people defending the CBN for freezing their accounts are saying, that the CBN was given that order by the DSS because some people infiltrated the protest and tried to turn the protest into a regime change sort of agenda, which is entirely possible because protests do get hijacked. It can happen. But what we need is proper investigation. And what we need, if that is true, if that's the intelligence from the DSS, these are professionals at gathering intelligence, I don't doubt it. But what I would expect is for them to isolate those people who infiltrated the protests and call them to order rather than attacking peaceful protesters and freezing their accounts. It just looks like it's punitive. If your intelligence gathering has given you that information, then target it.
Very good.
Well, he who alleges must prove. And in this case, if Garba Shehu is saying that the PDP had a hand in the protests, what is important, what should be the outcome of that investigation, is to provide the proof that indeed there were certain members of certain political parties who tried to support the protests. Because you will recall that when the NSAS protest started, the organizers first said there was no single leader. It was collective heroism. So it wasn't as if you could put a face to it and say this is the leader of this protest. Second, they want politicians to stay completely away from the protests. And in that regard, they didn't even discriminate. You recall again that when Omoyele Sowore, who has started the #RevolutionNow protest, when he showed up at one of the protests in Abuja, he was asked to leave.
Yes.
Because of his, political association. They didn't want any politician to be seen taking part in the protest. I mean, and that was quite interesting to see that Omoyele Sowore, who had always called for revolution, when the revolution happened, he was asked to step aside because they didn't want that to be tainted. Now, if it then happened that certain politicians were involved, whether of PDP or whatever party, then the state has enough capacity to carry out his investigation and then establish whether indeed such persons were also protesting in a peaceful manner or they had done anything untoward to sabotage national security. That's the first leg of it. Second leg of it is that what government must not do is to resort to blackmail and persecution. Many of these, persons who took part in the End-SARS protest, they have alleged persecution, the freezing of their accounts, the seizure of Modupe Udele's passport, and all of that, will seem to point to persecution. In this particular case, DJ Switch, Obianuju Udeh, she played quite a very prominent role at the Lekki toll gate, because when the soldiers arrived there, for the whole of that evening, she was posting videos for people to see what was going on there. Now, the authorities have challenged what she was live streaming, but she continues to insist on the veracity of her material. After a while, she suddenly disappeared, and people began to express concern about whether anything had happened to her or not. And then she showed up again, and then she started saying, look, she had information, she was receiving death threats, and there were plans to kill her. Now, the next thing we've had now is that she has sneaked out to Canada to seek asylum as a victim of persecution in Nigeria and harassment on the basis of the fact that she was trying to express her rights as a citizen. Now, under international law, she's entitled to do that. But the point has been made by the federal government that, look, whoever wants to protest, young persons, should do so in a peaceful manner. That was still a subject that came out yesterday during the meeting between the president and the UN delegation. And as we said earlier, the president even said, look, the future belongs to you people. It is your future, and you must manage it well and be peaceful about it. Government will listen to you. So what government should focus on is that assurance that government is ready to address the challenge of youth in development and those demands about good governance that young Nigerians have put forward. Now, to begin to adjust that, to now say this is a case of regime change, I didn't see any trace of regime change.
Nothing.
From people carrying placards, and chanting and saying that, Nigeria must be fixed.
For good governance.
But if northern leaders and northern traditional rulers now hold meetings and begin to say, oh, the original plan was to change regime and they are imputing religious and ethnic motives, those are the ones that the federal government should worry about, because they heat up the polity with their rhetoric of division.
Good point. Before I come to you, Rufai, I'll take another story. Following the destruction of about 1,975 bottles of beer, estimated at 200 million naira, by the Kano State Herbal Board, the governor of the state, Abdullahi Ganduje, has promised to increase the salaries of officials of the Islamic security outfit. While encouraging the officials, Ganduje said the consumption of alcohol and all other intoxicants that can distort the mental capability of a person was forbidden in Islam. Meanwhile, no fewer than 30 hawkers of the herbal medicine were arrested in the state for using vulgar language to advertise their products. The exercise, spearheaded by the Private Health Institutions Management Agency under the state's Ministry of Health, reported that 13 offenders were arrested during the first exercise, while another 17 of them were arrested in another exercise. The task force also added that 30 cars and wheelbarrows used by the culprits were impounded. Rufai, we are seeing this crackdown by the Herbal Board. What is your take on the story?
And I'm sad because of the rhetorics. I'll start from the NSAS and talk about the story quickly. I'm sad at the rhetorics, that has emanated as a result of what is happening now. The rhetoric that is coming out of this NSAS campaign. And please, I'm going to speak as a patriot this morning. We've got no other country to go to. This is the only Nigeria we have, and we all need to make it work. This is not about political bickering or regime change or sentiments. People had protests. The last time I checked, President Muhammadu Buhari led a protest after an election. In fact, tear gas was used in that protest. That was what led to the death of Chuba Kadigbo. This is not the kind of rhetoric I want to hear. We should be healing this country. and stopping this. And this is not kind of rhetoric I want to hear from the northern governors. We forget in a hurry that even if you run to another country, we don't pray for it happens. Anything bad happens, and you run to another, you will be second-class citizens. Even if you have a Canadian passport, I don't care. You're still going to be second-class citizens. You are not going to be able to rise to the highest heights of your potential, even in Canada, because your country is your country. So we need to stop all of this. Look at Oyibo. Oyibo is still on fire now in Rivers State. And all we can do is accuse another political party. Nigeria is bigger than APC or PDP. Let people hear that now. Nigeria is bigger than any political party or any political bickering. It's the time for us to come together, rhetorics that will heal our country. By now, I want to start seeing commercials on TV that Nigeria is one. We need to come together. We need to heal our land. We need to bring down the tension. By now, northern and southern governors should sit down and agree that Nigeria is an indissoluble country and the greatness of Nigeria is paramount to all of us. We should come together. It gets to a time where we need to become patriots in this country. I'm not saying we might not have primordial disagreements and primordial sentiment, but I don't like the rhetoric. It just looks as though everybody is fanning these embers with a crackdown somewhere on these people banning bank accounts. I don't like that. That's not what we want to hear for Nigeria. We want growth, we want development, we want way forward on how we can develop our economy that COVID-19 has destroyed. Third quarter, fourth quarter reports will come out now. It will officially be proven to us that we're in a recession. Food inflation is over 16%. Onion is gold in the market now. The prices of to get onion and tomato in the market is big deal. People are going to be suffering this Christmas.
All right, we'll take our final story before we discuss everything together. In Kaduna State, actress Rama Sadao, who was accused of blasphemy after sharing alleged racy photos on social media, will be appearing in a Sharia court in the state. The photos shared by the actress triggered blasphemous comments on the Holy Prophet Muhammad. The actress was berated for wearing a dress that exposed her back. A press release on behalf of the concerned and peace-loving Muslim listed some conditions that must be met before she defends herself. The group added that the case against her is a matter relating to the hadiths of the Prophet and the glorious Holy Quran, and not a matter relating to the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Tundun, your take on this story.
Well, you'll recall that it was actually in the Fourth Republic that Sharia law was instituted in Zamfara State, and other states followed suit. I'm sure many of us now wonder, when you hear a story like this, that the Constitution is supposed to be subjugated to an individual's religious faith. We now wonder the wisdom of that decision that was taken then. But with regards to Islam, if she does claim to be a Muslim, there's a dress code for Muslims, and this is considered haram because she's exposing parts of her body. So I'm not sure whether the Sharia court, if they do sentence her, if she's compelled to carry out that sentence, because this is supposed to be a secular state. Right. I will have to repeat, in this democracy, we had the chance at a clean slate and did not take it. And to go back to your previous story about the explicit language and the destruction of people's wares, or that alcohol that was destroyed by Hizbah, like I said yesterday, Surat al-Baqarah, it allows people to choose. Personal choice is actually protected in Islam. There's no compulsion in Islam. You don't have to be a Muslim. These people are not claiming to be Muslims. They're selling alcohol. So they're Christians who live in the north. Right. Every Nigerian has the right to settle and trade in any other part of Nigeria. And it's a shame that they are actually doing such a disservice to their own faith, because the actual faith, if you read the Quran and the Hadith, do not support this kind of behavior. These are like dictatorial tendencies and like hardline clerics, but not the actual faith.
What is the sentence for her? For blasphemy at this point?
It depends. I don't know. It depends on what she's found guilty of, because what it is, she didn't say anything.
Well, right.
She didn't say anything. She's dressed in an inappropriate manner. So I don't see where blasphemy comes in here.
It was the comment.
The allegation was that when she posted that picture of her in that racy dress, that when people reacted, it triggered blasphemous.
She did not comment.
She did not comment.
Yes.
It triggered blasphemous comments. Well, quickly, a number of points. One, the Sharia law is not superior to the Constitution of Nigeria. The Constitution of Nigeria is the basic law. Even if you go to a Sharia court and you are sentenced, you have the right of appeal in a regular court. So whatever happens, you can still go to the regular court where your fundamental human rights would be enforced. And there's nothing in that constitution that talks about you not being able to make a personal choice or associate as you feel. Second, the role of the Nigeria police also must be questioned in this, because it was first the Nigeria police that ordered that she should report herself to the next police station. The police reversed itself and said that what they were doing was to ensure protection for her. Three, nobody has a right to dictate how the judicial process should go.